I would like to talk to you about my quantum jump from yesterday. And I'm really hoping that this will help a lot of you who have been watching me grow and talk about responsibility, talk about how we are more powerful than we give ourselves credit. Those of you who are struggling with transitioning, those of you who are not trusting yourself to be able to achieve what life you want to achieve, I'm hoping that this will give you an encouragement to explore yourself from a different perspective. Yesterday, for the first time, I have realized one truth about my journey. And that truth is finally feeling like I own myself. And when I tell this, you probably feel like, well, that's a weird sentence, right? And I hear you. But here's how it has felt yesterday, that it is no longer my fears governing me. It is no longer certain thoughts owning me. It is no longer like certain patterns owning me. Do you know that feeling you have that somehow you keep working on yourself, you keep doing these things, and then in the end, somehow you still don't get to the outcome you want to? Or you have this feeling that you are working on it for so long and nothing has changed, kind of a feeling, right? And then it somehow feels like you don't own yourself. Somehow someone else owns you, or somehow someone else governs you, and you just feel like you don't you don't know what to do about it, right? I hope that you can resonate with what I'm saying. So for a long time in my life, I have been raised as if like I am this empty well that needs essential water, but I need to go and get water from somewhere else, right? And this water represents love, water represents importance, water represents money, water represents success, whatever it is, right? So somehow I needed to go somewhere and get it. I needed to prove that I'm worthy of getting it. And then I needed to like do an arduous journey and sacrifice and compromise and all of these things to get it, right? This is how I've been raised, and probably many of you can resonate with this, because I feel like we're all, or most of us, have been raised in a way that if we want love, we need to get from somewhere else. If we want happiness, we need to get from somewhere else. If we want money, we need to get from somewhere else. And we're always in this pattern of getting something from somewhere else because we didn't have it, right? That was really the assumption, that we didn't have it, so we needed to go and get it. The same goes for confidence and whatever, right? And therefore it always felt like in order to survive, in order to live, I need to prove and get something from somewhere else, right? This was the major pattern. And then I realized, okay, this pattern of surviving is not me anymore. I don't want that anymore. I don't want that type of pattern of always using something to get something, right? Like I talked to you about how I used to use my UN job to feel important, to feel status, to feel confident, to feel whatever, right? So it was always like using someone or something to feel a certain way. This is what I mean when I say that I was raised as a well that didn't have any water inside, and I needed to always get water from somewhere else, right? Then I realized, okay, because I don't want to be that type of person, I realized how all of this that I was seeking, the importance, the happiness, and the success, all of those feelings, I realized I had it inside me already. I just never learned how to feel them on my own, right? And of course, for those of you who might immediately jump and say that, well, but we need other people to feel a certain way. We need relationships. And of course, I'm not denying that we need relationships or we want relationships. We want to work for someone, or we want to work to be making our money and all of those things. Absolutely. But what I'm really getting at is, when I felt like I wasn't owning myself, as if someone else was owning me, someone else was in charge somehow, right? Someone else, like I was even coaching a client on how she feels like she doesn't have time for things that are important to her, right? So in those moments, it feels like as if we're not in charge, or we're not the one owning ourselves. It's as if like someone else owns us, right? Someone else owns us, and someone else needs to somehow decide what is our identity. Someone else decides what is it that we do, what is it that we don't. And that's the type of thing that I'm talking about, where it feels like you don't really own yourself. It's like other people get to define and decide for you what you can and cannot do. And the same way, you can also observe yourself where you're not really owning yourself, as if is when you say, oh, I can't really do that. I can't really go and transition to that thing. I can't really start my business, right? And in those moments, also, it feels like as if you don't own yourself. Do you know what I mean? So that's why when I was talking about this, how as if it feels like you don't own yourself, then yesterday, as I was reflecting on my own journey of transitioning and how it now feels like I'm the one who owns myself, so to say, and no longer those fears and no longer those thought patterns and no longer those as if like someone else somewhere else is somehow governing or directing which direction I should go and directing what I should do and shouldn't be doing, kind of thing. And then yesterday I realized, okay, if I have in my journey realized that I've always had that confidence inside me. I've always had that feeling of trust and how to manage fear in a way that it doesn't get so wild up and takes over, right? If I always had that feeling of wholeness, if I always had that feeling of happiness and whatever else that I wanted to feel, then me going and using the system to feel that way, me going and using other relationships to feel that way, is just a habitual pattern that I was so raised by that I didn't really know how to stop doing it. And again, not because I don't want relationships or I don't want to work for someone, for the system or anything, but doing that out of choosing to do that and out of wanting to do that, and not because if I don't do it, I will not survive, right? So that's the difference that I'm talking about. So then the quantum jump that I feel like I had yesterday is to realize, okay, if I really am the owner of myself, right? If I'm really the source of all of these feelings that I have, then I'm also the source of my decisions. I'm also the source of the outcome that I want to have in my life. So why do I think that outcomes that I want somehow don't really depend on me? And I'm really hoping that I'm able to explain this in a way that is accessible to you, right? So I have started feeling, okay, if I'm the source of everything, if I'm the source of my suffering, but also I'm the source of my solutions, if I'm the source of my confidence and feeling whole and feeling all of those things that I want to feel, if I am the source of it, meaning I have all of those instruments within me to feel the way that I want to, then whatever the outcomes those source creates is also, I am the source of that. And I started looking at, okay, if I'm the source of the outcomes that I desire, if I'm the source of the energy, if I'm the source of success that I want to, then me feeling like it's somehow not within my control, or me feeling like worried about whether that outcome will happen or not, does not really make sense, right? It doesn't, like, because my survival brain obviously wants to make me worry and wants to make me feel like if I keep worrying and fearing, then somehow I will magically find a better solution. But that's an illusion, right? That's not true. And I think in transitioning, a lot of the time, this is what I see, is that whatever we are working on, whatever the outcomes we want to get to, it feels so much out of control. It feels so much like unknown that we keep worrying about how to control it, right? So fear and worry are really two main emotions that keep indicating how much we're trying to control the uncontrollable. And that's why we suffer a lot, and that's why we want to just keep going for the known things, even if the known things are not really our thing anymore. But we still keep wanting to do that because we're so feeling unsafe and not sure about the outcome. And we just want to get to feeling safe again, and therefore we give up on the things that we want to. We So all of this process feels like as if we're we're not really in charge of that outcome that we want to, right? I hope that it makes sense. So, and while I'm not really advocating that you should now feel like, okay, you are in charge of the outcome, and feeling so stressed out, and then when you don't get the outcome you feel like, oh my god, I should have but I didn't and something is wrong with me. Don't do that to yourself. So if that's how you're hearing it, don't hear it that way. But I'm really wanting you to start looking at, if you feel, or if you allow yourself to feel, okay, you have that source of feeling confident inside you, you have that source of feeling trust inside you, and you have you are the source of all of the tools necessary to get the outcome that you want to, right? You have the intelligence, you have the abilities, the skill set, all of this. You have that source. You are the source of those, all of those. Then the outcome is inevitable because you are someone who's going to do everything within your control to get to that outcome because it's in your interest. And the part that I started realizing for myself is, as I was really reflecting on it yesterday, that if I'm the source of everything that I desire, then why all the worry and fearing and all of those in between? Because when I let the fear drive the actions that I take, when I let the worry drive the actions I take, I go back to that pattern of, oh, I need this to feel a certain way, right? I need the system to feel a certain way. I need this relationship to feel a certain way. And then I go back to that scarcity and needing and not having it and how to deserve it and how to have it, and the survival pattern starts happening. But if I go back instead to, okay, I am the source of everything that I desire, and I am the source of everything that I can do, of what is within my control, and I am someone who is going to do that anyway, then the outcome is already taken care of because everything else that creates the outcome is already within me, right? And from that perspective, when I was saying that I feel finally that I own myself, that's what I mean, is like it's no longer as if someone else is owning me or someone else is governing me or someone else's or something else, like thoughts and fears and patterns are not hijacking me, but rather I am really like having this feeling of, okay, I am the owner of myself and my outcomes. And if that is the case, I also have all of the sources within me to be creating that outcome. And of course, if you're someone who is a believer in God or in universe or whatever the force is, amazing, you can also use that. But the point really is, if we've always had the confidence, the trust, the abilities, all of the necessary tools that create the outcome that we desire, then is there really space for fear and worry and all of those, oh my God, will this happen? Can this happen? How is this going to happen? Or whatever it is. Is there really space for that? Because if we're saying that, what we're really saying is it is not within my control, right? Or it's not really, outcome is something that I can't really get to. And therefore, we just entertain or we just keep staying in those fearful and worrisome moments instead of focusing on, wait a minute, we have all the instruments, we are the source of all of the things that create the outcome we desire. Then all we can do, or what we want to do, is keep focusing on, okay, here are the tools and skill sets that we have, here are the process that we can follow, and here is the outcome that comes out of that naturally on its own. And that's how we become the source of the outcome we desire, rather than keep worrying and fearing and trying to change things every second day. And if we're doing that, then we're just saying that somehow we're not the owners, it's someone else who's owning us, and someone else is dictating somehow what we can and cannot achieve. So that is my quantum jump. I feel that I have finally realized, and it feels like it clicked in my whole body as to how, if we're the source of all of the tools and skill sets and the person that we are who creates that outcome, then why are we so worried about the outcome? And if we're worried about the outcome, then we are somewhere not recognizing that we're not the source, right? We're somewhere missing the point and we're saying, oh, this outcome somehow magically, or this outcome should happen by someone else or by a system or by whoever. And we're just giving that authority, agency to someone else. And the more we keep doing that, the more we're ironically not achieving the outcomes that we want to, because we're just saying that, yeah, it's not really me who is creating that outcome, right? It's someone else. And that keeps reinforcing the pattern that we all know too well, which is, in order for me to be successful, I need the system. In order for me to be feeling happy and fulfilled, I need the relationship. And that pattern is just hijacking our transitioning. So if we don't want that patterning to hijack our transitioning and our outcomes, then we need to start realizing, A, we cannot just keep allowing fear to hijack our transitioning, and B, if we don't let fear to be our agency, instead us owning who we are and owning all of the tools and personality that is needed to create that outcome, and that's us, we are the source of it, then the outcome is a natural result of it, right? So if that's the natural result of it, then we might just not be patient to see that outcome. And if we're not patient, then again, we're not owning our who we are and all the tools that we actually have. We have all of those sources, right? We are the source of it. Then the outcome is a no-brainer. I hope that I was able to explain my quantum jump. It feels like it's one of those very mysterious sounding topics, but I'm sure that I will try to find many other languages or many other ways to communicate to you in the future. So if you haven't quite grasped all of the depths of what I was saying, please do let me know. I will try to do that again in a different, maybe, language. But I feel like I needed to communicate this for now while it's fresh so that you continue being part of my journey of learning how I'm growing in my own journey. Okay, majors, if you have any questions or you'd like to get coaching on this,